again, this guy was the spearhead of atheism, saying, oh, that dogmatic thinking is ruining society, which I agree with. And what did he do? He went into this other dogmatic camp of Trump bad. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lex, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Let's party. You know, one of the saddest cases of TDS, or Trump derangement syndrome, came from somebody that I had an almost unwavering respect for. Some of you may be familiar with Sam Harris, but he got his popularity when the new atheist movement was coming around. You know, people like Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins. He was in that crowd. And then even after that, there was like the intellectual dark web with like Brett Weinstein and Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and that whole crowd. But even as somebody who was very, very against Trump from the beginning, I was able to see how nonsensical Sam would be when it came to talking about Trump. It's made even more sad because he is such an intelligent person. This guy is working in the crosshairs of neuroscience and metaphysics and philosophy. And I mean, this is one of the smartest people that I've ever heard of. Yet, as we always talk about, dogmatic thinking to do crazy, crazy things to people. So let's see what what Tim has for us from a clip from Lex Friedman, and we'll talk about it.
Sam Harris is a deeply broken man. And it's sad because I've listened to his podcast before. I've seen his conversations.
Actually, yeah, I meant to mention that I used to love his podcast. Sam Harris has this podcast, Waking Up, named after his book, Waking Up, A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion. So if you have seen anything that I've done before, you know exactly that book was right up my alley and allowed me to finally realize that as an atheist, I still can be a spiritual person, but not believe in, the tenets of this religion or that. And so, yeah, this guy was somebody that I had such respect for. And his podcast was always about, bringing a guest to talk about, things about time that we didn't understand, talking about consciousness. And then slowly, the whole podcast all became only about Trump and how bad Trump was, and how the only thing that mattered was making sure that Hillary got into office because the world would end if Trump won.
Sam Harris, for those that aren't familiar, has a very famous podcast. He was part of the intellectual dark web, or whatever you want to call it. And we've got this clip from his recent conversation with Lex Friedman, where he says, it's not him who has Trump derangement syndrome, it's you. You are the crazy ones. I want to play this clip for you and then explain the broken minds and the shattered egos of narcissists and where we are. Let me play this clip first, and then we'll talk about it.
And there's this meme on the internet, and I would love you to steel man the case for it and against, that Trump broke Sam Harris's brain.
He did.
That there's something is disproportionately to the actual impact that Trump had on our society. He had an impact on the ability of balanced, calm, rational minds to see the world clearly.
I'm already surprised that Sam didn't jump in derangement to defend himself.
Think clearly. You being one of the beacons of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a degree to which he broke your brain?
Yes. And again, the reason that it's so important to talk about Sam Harris is not because he's just one of the people who went crazy, but because of how intelligent, objectively intelligent he is.
Otherwise known as Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
medical condition.
I think Trump derangement syndrome is a very clever meme because it just throws the problem back on the person who's criticizing Trump. But in truth, the true Trump derangement syndrome was not to have seen how dangerous and divisive it would be to promote someone like Trump.
Nope.
So you see how it's just the rationalization that no. Even despite the fact that Trump was the president, and that is over, and we're all still here and fine. The worst part of that would be Rona, which obviously had nothing to do with Trump. And he's still saying that it was that bad. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Things have only gotten worse.
Oh, let me just pause right there. Let's get to the brass tacks. He says it's a clever meme because it puts those, it puts it back on the people criticizing Trump. Trump derangement syndrome doesn't refer to criticism of Trump because I criticize Trump all the time.
And again, I was super anti-Trump. I don't know how many times I can say that, but I just want to stress the fact that it is absolutely not about hating Trump or just criticizing Trump or anything like that. It's specifically the rewiring of your brain to be able to, or not to be able to, see reality as it really is.
This message just for you, Sam Harris. I hope somehow you end up seeing it. I criticize Trump all the time. Luke Rudkowski would come on the show for 7 months where he's periodically co-hosting during the winter season and criticize Donald Trump for drone strikes, for supporting the Saudis, for international, all of that stuff, and then be able to say, yes, but here are some things that we think were actually good. The Abraham Accords, for instance. I have people who say things like, he was ponying up to dictators. Donald Trump crossed the DMZ into North Korea with no security detail in a tremendous good faith effort for peace.
Joe Biden wouldn't even go to East Palestine.
But Trump derangement syndrome blinds you from seeing that was a good thing. So, Sam Harris, your brain is broken by Trump to the point where you don't even understand that among the people who voted for Trump, there are many who are very critical of him.
Right.
Very critical. And here's the funny thing. Trump's diehard supporters they'll criticize me saying I'm wrong, but they'll still watch the show.
Yeah, it's just the incessant dogmatic. Again, this guy was the spearhead of atheism, saying, oh, that dogmatic thinking is ruining society, which I agree with. And what did he do? He went into this other dogmatic camp of Trump bad. This is what dogmatic thinking does to your brain.
They'll call me names and insult me, but they'll still listen to what's being said. Let's play more.
To that position of power, and to not, and in the final moment, not to see how untenable it was to still support someone who, a sitting president who was not committing to a peaceful transfer of power. I mean, that was if
let Tim take
if that wasn't a bright
on.
line for
Come on,
you,
bro.
you have been deranged by something.
Oh, now we're deranged. We're deranged. He's going to pretend to forget about all the people in 2016 who said that the transfer of power wouldn't be legitimate if Trump won, no matter what. They wouldn't expect all of that stuff. You can go look up the clips. Hillary Clinton herself said it, and he did. He did give over the presidency. If you actually watched his speech from J6, he said peacefully and patriotically. Now that we're getting more tapes, we see that not only was it not as bad of a riot as the media made it seem, but most of it was not even a riot at all. But no, we're deranged, right, Sam?
Because that was, that was 1 minute to midnight for our democracy, as far as I'm concerned.
Let me play that last part again for you.
Committing to a peaceful transfer of power. I mean, that was if that wasn't a bright line for you, you have been deranged by something. Because that was, that was 1 minute to midnight for our democracy.
We don't have a democracy. We have a constitutional republic that uses democratic institutions to elect representatives we then send to a federal government. It's not a democracy. We do have referendums in some states, which is more of a democratic process for passing laws. But this is Sam Harris exemplifying perfectly that Trump broke his brain.
Yep.
First thing I would ask, Sam, articulate one thing that you think made, break it down for me. What did Trump do?
Yeah, exactly. And as somebody who was in the anti-Trump camp, listening to Sam say these things, at least in the lead up, it was always the same stuff. Like, oh, this is going to be so bad. 1 minute to midnight. That might have worked. And on a lot of people, including myself, it did work before. But again, we've already lived through it. So what is it that you think still was so bad that happened?
What did he do that was so dangerous? You say one thing. Okay. At the end, you say he was not committed to the peaceful transfer of power. In what way? Did Donald Trump tell people to go home? Okay. He complained about the 2020 election. He doesn't believe it was legitimate because he's got an ego. I think there's a lot of things wrong with that, and I think he lost. I think you get a lockdown, you get a failing economy, you get no sports, no movies, and everyone says it's Trump's fault. Here's a mail-in ballot to get rid of him.
Yeah. And, we talked all the time about the mail-in ballots and how that absolutely was legal. That absolutely was part of the rules, but those rules were changed. And it is unquestionable that ballot harvesting by mass mail-in ballots is something that helps the Democrats.
And Trump's going to lose, even though he gained 12 million new voters. Here's the thing for me. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I voted for him in 2020.
I didn't vote for him in either.
Because I've paid attention to the very things that you, Sam Harris, have complained about for the years, and I noticed them happening, which is why this is also sad that this dude is so shattered. He just can't come out and say he's wrong.
Nope. And this is the problem with the dogmatic thinking on either side that I talk about. When it comes to religion, trying to just say that, oh, it must be because God said so. That is not good enough. When it comes to, oh, you can change your gender because we said so. That is not good enough. When you say, oh, no, you're the deranged one because Trump was actually really bad, but you can't say how, that is not good enough.
I remember that viral clip from Bill Maher where Sam Harris and Bill are talking to Ben Affleck about Islam, talking about how most of the people who practice Islam have very conservative views and believe things that we would find distasteful.
I remember this clip, and this was a time when I was still watching Bill Maher regularly. I was extremely excited to see Sam Harris, and I was very happy with Sam Harris's appearance. And he was talking about, the dangers of Muslim extremists. And Ben Affleck didn't understand the difference between Islam, the doctrine, and Muslims, the people.
Their views on women, for instance. And Ben Affleck gets all mad, and he's like, how could you blanket all these people? Ah! You see, Bill Maher and Sam Harris were very critical of religions that blindly adhere to things without facts and believe things that are dangerous.
Or, wait, what do we call that again? Dogmatic thinking.
And that's exactly what I see happening in this country with wokeness, with the corporate neo-lib policies, their disdain for what's going on. And Sam Harris is so ignorant of what's happening in the world. He would say it was 1 minute to midnight for our democracy because of Trump? For what reason? I'll tell you why it was 1 minute to midnight, because the election of Joe Biden has resulted in absolute chaos.
Yep.
Look at the economy. Look at the banks. You're going to blame Trump for that? He's not the president anymore. It's been years. Joe Biden has instituted executive orders. Joe Biden has done foreign business dealings and dumped $100 billion into Ukraine. Donald Trump was doing the opposite. We got the Abraham Accords. Okay, we got our troops, a plan at least, to get out of Afghanistan. What happens? Joe Biden botches the whole thing, pushes it back several months, abandons the Bagram Air Force Base without notifying the security forces in Afghanistan, and the country collapses overnight. That was not Trump.
No, it wasn't. And I mean, it could go on and on and on about this, but I really just wanted to show you the fact that somebody so intelligent can still, after all of this time, be so blinded to their own beliefs, despite the fact that they are super intelligent, despite the fact that they have spent the last, 20 years? It was 9/11 that kind of got Sam into the public space. That's what made him write his original book, Letter to a Christian Nation, and that's how he got into the spotlight. How do you go from that and seeing, wow, it's so terrible? These people believe something so unequivocally that they are willing to fly planes into a building, to then yourself believing something so fervently, just like the people that you have issues with. I don't get it. This is what dogmatic thinking does to smart people. Guys, I am begging you, please stop with the dogma. Please think critically. Look at reason. Look at logic. And it's okay to be wrong. I was wrong when I thought that Trump was going to end the world. I've been wrong on a lot of things. It's okay. Let's move on. And so if people as smart as Sam are still in this mindset, then you know that there is a lot dumber people doing exactly the same thing. Do you guys see other people out there like this still, or is Sam just so far gone? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for partying with me today. Guys, I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, I am out of here. Peace.